to NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner, and with me today is T. Nguyen, a Senior Coordinator for Assessment, Research, and Accountability. Welcome, T, to NPS Now.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. It's getting close to the SOLs. How are we being prepared for this testing cycle?
Wow, that's, there's a lot of things that have to be put in place, and a lot of different departments play a huge role in the preparation as we move towards our spring non-writing administration that's going to happen in May. So one of the departments we work very closely with is network services, just to make sure that the technology is in place and that our servers and electricity is up so that we can make sure our kids are ready and prepared for testing.
So is it going to be all online testing, or we have any paper testing?
Yeah, for the most part, the majority is online testing. We do have a small number of students who need paper pencil format due to a medical need or medical documented need, but for the most part it is online testing for our kids.
So the testing that's coming up, it's for writing specifically?
Writing just finished a couple of days ago. We're moving into non-writing. Those are your other content areas: reading, math, science, and history.
So when is this testing segment?
Well, for the majority of our students, it will begin on May 12th, Monday, May 12th. We do have some students who we call term graduates. Those are students scheduled to graduate by August 2014. They'll begin testing a couple of weeks prior to that at the end of April. That gives them multiple opportunities to take a test to make sure that they're on track for graduation.
So what does your department do specifically to support SOL testing?
Well, there's a lot. My team and I, we oversee a variety of different things, but as far as preparation is concerned, we make sure that the technical aspects are met, the compliance aspects are met as well. So as far as technical assistance, like I had mentioned earlier, we work with network services, but we also work with school plant as well, just to make sure that the technology is in place, that the computers and laptops are imaged and ready to go as far as the TestNav, which is the web platform that's used for our online testing component. But as far as school plant or facilities, they make sure that our power is up and running and that those types of things are ready so that they generate power for our computers. It's those little details that are really important for testing.
How many computers are we using, like on the elementary, middle, and high school level?
Well, it varies. Right now, I believe we have enough for each of our students, but you're looking at anywhere from a couple hundred at a smaller elementary school to thousands at the secondary level.
Really?
Yes.
So as a district as a whole, how do we support you all in the testing process?
Well, there's a lot, even just at the central administration level. We provide training to all the administrators and personnel so that each person is assigned out to the school to help, because there's just a lot of students testing. So they'll go out and help with proctoring the test. We also will call in retired teachers to help with that aspect as well. The other areas that I had mentioned earlier, we have network services who make sure that the technology is in place, and then school plant just to make sure that the electricity and all those other things are up and running to help support that. But we provide training to make sure that everyone understands the different security procedures and protocols as well as the compliance aspect of it, so people kind of make sure that they follow the rules and regulations as VDOE has stipulated, and also Norfolk Public Schools.
You mentioned proctors. So a typical testing day, say I'm going to a middle school or a high school or an elementary school. Who are the folks who are there to help with the testing process?
Well, you have the folks out in the schools, but as far as proctors, we have proctors at the central administration level. Like, we'll ask some folks from your area, also people in, say, budget or finance, so they can go out and help. But you have in each school, you have a school test coordinator along with the assistant principal responsible for testing. So they relay messages and information from our department to make sure that everybody understands the procedures and the security issues and compliance to enforce that at the school level. And then they provide training as well, again, to all the teachers and staff who are then examiners and proctors during testing, So they understand, what do I need to do in case there's a technical issue with the laptop? How do I handle that? If there's an emergency, let's say a student becomes sick during testing, how do I handle that? What are the procedures for those?
So I know I've been a proctor before.
Yes.
I've been through your intensive training.
Okay, yes.
Web-based training. So you have a proctor, you have an examiner, and I think you have another person. So kind of give us a feel for what a proctor does, what an examiner does, and the key components with that.
Sure. The examiner is really the person who checks in and out the secure test materials. That includes your test tickets, any other manipulatives that the children may need or use during testing. Person will check it out from the school test coordinator, where the proctor will, on the other hand, will make sure that the classroom is ready. So once the two enter the test site, then the examiner will follow the directions stipulated by VDOE. There's an examiner's manual that they go by, read the directions. And the proctor is there to help verify and assist in any way. Let's say if there are questions that come up during the test session, or again, like I had mentioned, a student becomes sick, then the proctor can help escort that student to the nurse. So they, it's a very nice setup in that the two adults are there just to kind of help make it a very conducive
So it's very
testing.
organized process.
Oh yes, very organized.
And it's very seldom will you have issues because the normal issues if a child gets sick or something like that, but you have safety nets and things involved.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely.
So what do you specifically do? I know your department and us, the departments here, support you all, but what do you specifically do?
Well, I'll just describe a typical day for me. Typical day during testing starts as early as 5 a.m. And we're checking all the servers to make sure the servers are up for all the online testing, but also power. Something as simple as electricity. If there's a rainstorm or a storm the night before, we tend to check all those items because if it's not on, then we won't be testing that day, and we need to make sure that we communicate that with our schools. So it starts very early in the morning, and then throughout the day, that's what we're doing. We're monitoring all of our test sessions, being in constant communications with the schools, and then being in contact with network services to make sure they're aware too. In case there is a technical or electronic difficulty, then we can make sure they're on top of it and fix it for our kids.
So what are some helpful tips for our parents and students as we go into this testing cycle?
Sure, well there's several, but I'll just name a few. First of all, I know that testing is about a month and a half away, so let's start making sure that our students have some good, solid, nutritious meals, but then getting a lot of restful sleep at night. 8 or more hours would be great. But then on the VDOE website, they've published or released some new practice items and tests for our kids. So giving them multiple and many opportunities to go online and take a look at the different practice items and tests. That way the students are very comfortable as far as what's available, what the test will look like on test day. So they'll be ready to go.
So that's VDOE.org.
Yeah, VDOE.edu. They can Google it. Probably Google is the easiest thing. Just put in VDOE practice items, and it should be the first couple of links that come up.
So what about our website? Can we go to our parent portal and find this information?
Sure, you can go there. You can go on the Assessment, Research, and Accountability website. We have a link there. And most of our schools will also have a link as well. That's something that they can take a look at. And also on the schools' web pages, they should start seeing when the actual test dates will be so that the parents can try to schedule doctor's appointments, dental appointments, any other appointments outside of the testing window so the students can take their test along with their classmates.
And that's very important information. And is our testing calendar on that site as well?
It should be, yes. It should be.
Great. Thank you, T, for coming in
You're
and
welcome.
sharing great information about the SOL testing.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we want you to stay tuned for more NPS Now.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I'm Steve Sutmiller, Senior Coordinator of Athletics. Today we have two special guests in the studio, state champions. Head coach Sandra Sawyer from Lake Taylor High School and one of her star players, India McKinney. Welcome. Coach, we'll get right to it. This is number 3. How's it feel?
Wow. Seems like by now it would have actually sunk in, but I don't know, every day it's just something added to the accolades, but it feels awesome. I'm more so proud of the young ladies. I mean, I've been there. Of course, I want to win more, but the young ladies, to see them put the work in every day and actually get to the top, I feel so happy for them.
Coach, last year we were here together, and I asked you a
Right.
question, what's 2013-14 team going to look like? You had some answers, but I didn't hear state champion out of that answer.
Well-
How did this team come together?
Well, when you lose a player like Fiona Fitzgerald, man, and then you lose a scrappy player like Jordan Mitchell, those two players are irreplaceable. But fortunately for the Titans, we had some young ladies that come in, they bought into the system, just as scrappy, if not. And everybody just played for each other. Everybody played for one another. There was no selfish play. And we just played it as a unit, and good things happened.
Okay, and you brought one of those players that has blossomed over a few years.
Yes, India's been with us for 4 years. She's been with us since her 9th grade year. And here she is, she's a senior, and get ready to leave the nest.
India, not only that state championship was important that day, you also had a birthday. How did both of those come together, and how did you celebrate those?
Well, it was actually a great feeling, one of the best birthday presents I could have ever asked for. And I actually celebrated, well, with my team, you could say. That was the gift. That was the celebration of my birthday. So it was a pretty good birthday.
Okay, I was at the game. I thought a turning moment that brought some excitement to the crowd was that three-pointer at the end of the third quarter. Talk about that.
Well, we were just running our time-taking play, Hoosier, and I looked up. When I got the ball, I looked up. I heard 3 seconds. I took like 3 more dribbles, and I let it go. So we had practiced it, but I could say it was consistent, but it was practice. So.
Okay. Coach, going back to the start of the year, walk us through it. This was a whole new level of play for Lake Taylor and for the Virginia High School League. You were the last 3A state champion, and now you're the first 4A state champion. How did you put this season together, and what were your thoughts about going into that 4A competition?
Well, in the beginning of the year, we lost to Maury High School. We had never lost a district game in, I guess, the last 6 years. But losing that game, it really didn't have the impact that it would have had going into regional play with the loss. So not only did we lose, we got beat pretty bad. I think we lost by like 28 points. But as we got better during the season, some of them got big-headed, maybe even a little cocky area, and we always pulled the Maury tape out, and we go over those things just to bring them, humble them, bring them back to size, and make them continually want to get better. So that probably was a good thing for us, although, you know, we didn't like the feeling of the loss, and of course losing to a team in Norfolk, but that was really a good thing for us. It was like, you know, medicine. It didn't taste good, but once it settled in, it was probably the best thing to happen to us.
Okay, you know, I've said it a few times. You have 3 state championships.
Right.
How do these teams differ from each other? Each one's different, I'm
Well,
sure,
our
but
first
they all
one-
come out with the same result.
To be honest, the first one was, I felt a lot of pressure because we had a lot of talent, and out of those 5 players, 3 of them are now playing Division I. We have 2 at West Virginia, 1 at James Madison. So we had a lot of talent. So it was expected that we win. And last year, we had Fiona Fitzgerald, but she was like under the radar. Throughout the whole AAU season, she was just under the radar. And that was like a hunger thing for her. So she just felt like she had a lot to prove. And we had a lot of role players that were rallying behind her. We just needed her to be our leader. And as we kept going, you know, everybody just got hungrier, and we just could see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then when the state tournament came, we just showed up and showed out. It was special. And then when you lose those players, and you know, other players have to come in and step up. India, being that it was going to be her senior year, I told her, it's your season, it's your year. You got to lead us. Of course, you know, they're like deers in the headlight, and you know, they want to be leaders when they first come in. And then we see other players and they have to wait their turn. They feel like life is mistreating them. But when their time comes, you know, they really want some more guidance. They really want that extra help. But India has taken everything in stride. everything was her fault, on the floor, on the bus, in the locker room. And that's the way I treat all my team captains, because I just getting them ready for the next level. And just no excuses, no excuses. I can't accept any excuses from her or anybody else. And India has done a really good job. She's been, the leader on the floor, getting everybody to talk, communicate, and holding everybody accountable. And I try to instill in my captains, if you're doing this on the floor, then that's the last you got to hear from me. So either you're going to hear it from me or you're going to do it. So she took that in stride, and the players respected her, and she got everybody to play for one another. And here she is.
That's a good lead in. India, you were a supporting player, or you were a 4-year player on Lake Taylor. You were then a supporting player on the state championship team, and then you're all of a sudden the star player on the state championship team. Tell us a little bit about that. How'd that evolution go?
Well, the transition, it's different roles, so it's a very difficult task to go from one role to another. But being a supportive player, it's just I could be there for my captains whenever they needed it, and I just support and do my role, do my part whenever I had to. And then like going from being the supporter to the leader, it's like I need the support, so I would want my supporters to support me the way I supported my leaders, and I can trust them the same way they can trust me. So having that trust was good. It made it easier because I had trust.
Okay, you talk about leadership. Unfortunately, you fouled out in that game, so you had to take a different role. How was that being in that situation at that point?
Well, when I fouled out, I didn't think anything less than, okay, now my teammate's gonna fight for me. We really gotta fight now. And I went to one of the other seniors, Taylor, and before I got out, like, I shook her hand, and she knew we gotta keep fighting. We gotta end it strong, and it's time, put the business, it's time to end it.
And you guys did.
Yes.
So what are some of your future plans? What are you looking at down the road here? And Coach, you can help chime in on that if you'd like.
Well, as far as college, I have a couple of visits coming up in April to Virginia State University and East Tennessee University, and I also have a couple of looks from Furman and
North Carolina Central.
North Carolina Central.
Norfolk State.
Okay, well,
Norfolk
that
State.
sounds like you have some opportunities, and that's what this is all about. And we wish you good luck with anything and everything that comes about your way. So,
Thank you.
Coach, your program, we're just going to say it's a premier program in the state of Virginia. How's that feel? And can you keep that premier program going?
Well, I would like to. I've been real fortunate and blessed to have some great parents. When the parents send their kids to Lake Taylor, all I ask them to do is just trust me. And I haven't had any parents that have been erratic or complaining their child's not playing or whatever. They just like the players on the floor, trusting each other. Parents trust me. I'm very open. I don't promise anything, but hard work will earn you playing time. And I take a real sincere thought process when I have a 4-year player. If a player is playing for me for 4 years, I feel like I owe that to them to get them college, if that's their, if that's where they want to go, the next level, to get them playing on some level, Division III, II. It just depends on where their level is. Don't want them to go and just, be a small fish in a big pond, but just want them to play and enjoy the college life. So India is one of those young ladies that's been here for 4 years, and wow, 2 state championships and scholarships. That's basically, that's what I want to do as far as winning. But the most important thing is the relationships that I established over the years. When they come in, 8th graders, ponytails, and they're just seeing them, eventually wearing makeup and all the other stuff. And then when they go to college, they're still calling, coming to practice on Christmas holidays. The relationships are probably the most memorable things.
Well, it's awesome for the city. It's awesome for the school system. We appreciate everything that you've done and that your teams have brought to the city. And I know everybody in the city is very proud of you. I have one more question. Last year at this time, again, we sat down here, and You had 2 state championships and your husband only had 1. Now you have 3. I said you told me you ran the household. Is that still true? It's 3-1 now. I mean, we're putting some pressure on Coach Sawyer.
Well, you know, when we always say what's his is mine, what's mine is mine. But in this situation, we have 4. We have 4.
That's great.
And he won another one, we'll have 5.
All right. Coach, India, thank you for being here. Continued success, and we'll see you next year. How about that?
God be willing.
All right. More NPS Now after this.
Welcome back to NPS Now. With us today is Renee Parker, Senior Coordinator for Security Services. Welcome, Renee, to NPS Now.
Thank you, Karen.
Well, spring is here, and we know when it gets warm, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
But we have great students. But what type of issues do you run into this time of year?
Well, you know that the biggest thing is daylight saving time. And now when we get up, it's still dark outside. So one of the things that I'd like to caution all of our first arrivers, those that come early in the morning, is to make sure that they canvass the parking lot before they get out of the car, maybe ride around and look for anything that may be out of place or anyone that may be out of place. And if they see something that just doesn't look right, don't get out of your car. Either wait for someone else to arrive, another coworker, or call for assistance, either the non-emergency number for the police, or if it really looks serious, you want to call 911, but you don't want to get out of the car by yourself when it's dark. You also don't want to prop doors open when you go into the building because, again, it's dark and you don't want people, you know, using that as an opportunity to come in. So we want everyone to just practice safety and just make sure that we're aware of those things. Additionally, once the sunlight comes up and it gets a little warmer, you know that we like to prop open doors and windows, and we want to caution our students and our staff members about doing that. When you do those things, you allow people unauthorized to enter buildings, so you don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that we remain safe and we keep our doors and windows closed.
And you said something interesting, you know, with daylight savings time. It is darker in the morning, and you have walkers too. What are some quick tips for some of our walkers coming to school?
Those walkers also would need to walk with someone. You know, wait for a friend. Don't walk by yourself. Don't be distracted on the cell phone. You know, this is a technology age, and oftentimes we're texting or talking on the phone, and we're not aware of who's behind us or around us. Also, cars can't see you as well because it's still dark. So you want to be careful walking out in the street and wear something that reflects the lights in the night so that people can see you, perhaps white or any type of fluorescent colors.
And now that you've gotten to school, who is actually responsible for the safety of our students in the schools?
That's interesting. Everyone is.
Everyone. Okay.
Everyone. We often think that it's just security or it's just staff, but our students are also important to us as far as keeping our schools safe. They hear things and they see things, and we tell everybody, when you see something, say something.
So what type of training for you to see something and say something do you need, or information do you need so you can help keep our students safe?
Well, as far as our students are concerned, the only training that they need is they need to know who a safe adult is in the building that they can go to and tell the information to. And whatever you're telling, you want to give the specifics of the who, you know, the what, and if you know the when, you also want to tell the when. And then that kind of helps us narrow things down, and we know where to look or who to look for or what type of things that might be out of place that we can look for. Our officers are all trained. They are certified by the state of Virginia. They receive specific training each year in different aspects of Virginia rules and state laws and things that they are required to do to keep our schools safe.
Now, do we have SROs in the elementary, middle, and high schools?
No, we only have SROs in secondary schools, which is our middle and high schools.
So why is it important for the adults in the schools to build relationships with our students? Because to be an SRO, I'm sure he or she builds relationship with those students, but how important is that?
It is important for our school security staff, both our SROs and our security officers, to build those positive relationships. so that if something does happen, our children understand that there is an adult, a trusted adult that they can go to that will help them out. Oftentimes, if our children are afraid, they don't know who they can go to and who they can trust. So we teach our officers to build those relationships. They are to be friendly, but not become friends of our students. So we want to keep those professional boundaries, but we want to make sure that our children know that we are consistent, we're fair, and if they come to us and they tell us something, they can trust us to do the right thing.
Let's clarify for parents in the community what an SRO is. Share what that is.
An SRO is a school resource officer. He is a police officer that has been trained to work with schools. So he deals with school law as well as dealing with public law, and he's there to enforce the law and keep our schools straight and safe. He does not enforce school policy, he enforces law violations.
Right. So how do you all keep our schools safe?
Well, one of the things that we try to do is work together as a team. My officers are selected to try and create strong teams in each building. We have a team in the middle school, and we have a team of officers in the high schools. And each one of those teams are selected with dynamics that we feel are important to those groups of students. We go through different types of training in the summer. Just recently, in January, we did a all-staff day where we did some training for our officers as well as administrative staff to know what to expect if first responders were needed at your school, who to call, who would come, what authority they would have, how you would need to respond. Because in this day and time, we want everyone to practice safety. We want everyone to keep safety in mind and safety first.
And I attended that training, and that was very interesting, very informative. But also, too, I want to know, how do you all help our students academically as well?
Well, number one, we work with the National Association of Law Enforcement Officials, and this is NASLEO, N-A-S-S-L-E-O. We have a website, nasleo.org, where students can go to, and there are scholarships offered each year for students. We are in the Southeast region, and I am the region representative or the region director, and students can go online. They can submit an application, and if they're selected, then they will be chosen for a scholarship. Last year, one of our students at VOTAC in the criminal justice program is Talisha Russell. She was awarded a $1,000 scholarship through NASLEO. So our students are supported through the National Association of School Safety and Law Enforcement Officials, but also our officers work as mentors and advisors in their schools to different groups. At Lake Taylor Middle, we have 2 STEP teams that have been created by one of our school security officers, Ms. LaToya Jones. And then at Booker T High School, we also have a STEP team that is directed by Officer Parrish Winfield.
So you all are not just involved with security, but academically, socially, and developmentally with our students.
Absolutely.
And that's a great thing. And I think parents watching and the community watching this show were very enlightened by what you've shared today. Now, if anyone has any future questions and concerns, I think they can reach you all at 757-892-3284.
Absolutely. That is our security hotline. So if you have a question or if you have something you want to report, we encourage you to call that number and let us know.
Well, thank you for joining us today on NPS Now. We really appreciate you coming and sharing this valuable information, giving us even more insight of our security officers and what you do in security services.
Thank you, Karen, for having me, and thank you all for always supporting all of our efforts.
You are welcome. Thank you. And we want to thank you for watching NPS Now. If you have any great story ideas or information, email them to us at npsnews@npsk12.com. And again, always stay tuned here to NPS Now and watch us on Channel 47 or view us online at www.npsk12.com. Again, thank you for watching NPS Now.